Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Today we're having a second kick at the cat on this tripartite joint. Didn't work in South Africa, but I assure you, joints are now legal in Canada. We're gonna give her a go. This here Femi saw, made in Italy, expensive as her frig. The 45 degree was right cattywampus. Surprise, surprise. So the first time we welded her, she had a gap like the crack of dawn. The other thing I didn't mention about this joint, you have a look at this now. It's not symmetrical in the welding area. So you get a weld here, and then you get an unsymmetric long bit of weld here. What makes it want to cantilever over. Pause it now. The wife come home with a wee red-headed step bairn. You best not ask too many questions on account of you're going to be paying for it for anyway. 25 years at the minimum. You got to get them into university and all that, so forth. So just enjoy their company and forget about all that other nonsense. I mean, I got a wee bit of New Age traveler in my beard myself. Viking, you might say. Who knows? Western European mix match. Heinz 57. This fucking thing, value for dollar, sore dick deal. You can't beat it. So, happen to buy this from the usual scumbags. Well, at the hazard fraud. Hopefully, it's just as good as this one. Got the seat torn out of my pants getting over the border. It was hard coming back with it on my back, but nothing like a little German Shepherd for inspiration. Once we get the piggledy set up here, electrode negative, yeah. I'm going to hip you to the various processes and the pros and cons of each. There's MIG, there's TIG, and there's stick. Now, stick welding has the cheapest consumables and is the most versatile for home flamers. In this case, what we do, we got a stinger and we got, now this is a brazing rod, but we have a chunk of metal here and it's got a flux on the core. You strike an arc, that arc burns the flux. It creates an inert atmosphere that allows the angry pixies, or angry right up, to flow in the arc and then melts the metal that way. It's the most versatile because you can use it outside. In a breeze, it's cheap. You can get a whole bunch of different rods for different applications. However, that versatility comes at a cost. It is a difficult process to master, and it's a difficult process to learn. Even striking the arc is painful at first. It's quite a violent process, so there's lots of spatter, and there's also, you know, you're going to get burned, but it's the cheapest and most expedient way to get into welding is to buy yourself a shielded metal arc welding, a stick welding welder. Now, an easier process to learn is the MIG or mag welding. Mag for pedants because it's metal active gas, has a little bit of CO2 in there in the shielding gas. Instead of a flux around an electrode, what we're doing is we're pushing a wire through a gun and having a shielding gas exhaust through this gas lens on the periphery. It's more expensive because you have more consumables, and it's also more of a pain in the cunning linguals because you got to go and get gas for it. The other thing you can do with the MIG is you can use a flux cord. So instead of using a shielding gas, you use wire what's got flux inside of it. It doesn't make as pretty a welds as straight MIG because you have the flux and you have lots of, you got lots of dingleberries around, and it's quite violent and it's smoky. It's like stick welding, only with a MIG welding gun. By far the easiest and nicest process is, well, we'll get into TIG, but the nicest process for beginners is MIG. It's quite easy to pick up. It's been commented many times, MIG welding only takes 15 minutes. To which I reply, really? You clearly haven't learned fuck all about MIG welding, because it takes a lot longer than that to master. It's also quite flexible in the thickness of material you can weld. You can't weld super thick stuff, but it's not like you're going to be going pipelining with the thing anyway. The chances are, if you're a professional welder, you ought not be here, quite frankly. Now we come to her. TIG, tungsten inert gas, not by chance that I come to her last, because this is a beautiful process. You can do Instagram rainbow welds all day long. it is fantastic because you don't necessarily need to feed in any additional filler material. You can just go over a shitty weld with the torch again and make it look pretty. So you'll see these, as I said, Instagram welders love TIG because they can show off and kind of cheat a little bit. The TIG is slow. It's slow. For any kind of large fabrication, you wouldn't use it unless you absolutely had to, because it's slow as cold fucking molasses. The other thing that I hate about TIG is grinding electrodes. I reserve this word. My wife hates it, and I don't care for it either, but I reserve this word for very special occasions. Grinding tungsten is a pain in the cunt. So the consumables, the downsides of TIG are the consumables are very expensive. You got to get a different shielding gas than MIG. So now you got two bottles. You need straight argon most of the time. You can see the TIG torch here. You see the size of it. Now if you're laying down any amount of material, this is going to melt in your hand. So you're going to end up buying a water-cooled TIG torch at some point anyway. That's another consumables. You got all the tips, you got all different size electrodes. Now you have to grind the electrodes, you have the filler rods. It's a very slow and expensive, labor-intensive process. Are you ready for some hot TIG welding action? Enough talking. Pitter patter, let's get at her. Oh, no fucking gas. Can't hardly wait to show your friends your new banana peeler so you don't fucking chooch. Fuck, there's plenty of gas in there. Might be something wrong with this gauge or possibly the reg itself, which is kind of sketchy. We'll get her dialed in, and if she doesn't show up on this gauge, we'll try and use it anyway. See what happens. At least we'll leave a beautiful corpse. Tap it, tap, tap. All right, we're all connected. Even got the go faster pedal here. Check it out. I got a spot for you to stick your joints. We'll turn it on. Sticker in amperes. 10 amperes. We got to turn that up. Let's say we go, we'll go 90. Little tip so you don't poke your eye out. You only got but two of the Jesus things. They're delicate. Well, it's got that newfangled high frequency start. My other TIG welder didn't have that. It's good for lighting your friends up like a Christmas tree, melting their fillings. Nope. Shield's down. Okay, let's have a look-see. There's my first TIG weld in a 3 dozen years. And that is why, my friends, you always start out on a scrap bit in order to get your settings right. Your settings being, of course, your body positioning as well as your machine. Fucker. There you go. Now, I ain't ever been afeard to show you my warts, vain and petty as I is. At the same time, I got maybe 100 hours into TIG welding, and as you see, 100 hours don't get you too far. That ain't no Instagram weld there. Of course, the trick with the TIG is you can go over it again, not add any filler material, and make it look super pretty. At the same time, this process is very intensive and it's difficult to learn. It takes a lot of hours because, you know, you're downstairs, your wife's in bed, you're using the two-handed routine. That's all fine and dandy, but when you got a filler rod, you got a TIG torch, and you got the foot pedal controlling the amperes, the heat, then when you put the filler rod in, when it actually melts, then your puddle cools down. There's a whole lot of shit going on there, partner, and 200 hours of practice, just, it ain't gonna do it. So you gotta consider cost benefit. You really need to learn how to TIG. If you want to, fucking give her. But if you're just doing mild steel, SMAW and MIG are where it's at. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vise.